Good afternoon to all our audience who have actually joined this webinar session. I would like to thank all of our audience once again for joining this webinar, which is conducted by South London College. So to just give you a brief introduction of what this webinar is actually about, it is for individuals, for people who are actually finding a lucrative career in the IT sector. So if you're a person who is actually a beginner or starting your journey and finding what type of careers are actually very lucrative and where you can grow, or if you're a person who is actually a career changer, or you're a person who is in the IT sector but is actually doing an entry-level job and is not earning much, or if you're an individual who loves to is very much curious about the IT sector, then actually this webinar will be a value added advantage to you. So without any further ado, let's actually move on to what this webinar will actually, teach you about. And of course, we have then at the end of the webinar, a Q&A session where then once you have gone through this webinar, you can then provide us all of the questions that you are very curious or would like to inquire about, and we'll be glad to actually answer them. So let's move on to the next slide. So what this webinar will help you figure out, so actually it will help you to carve a path in the IT sector, the market reality, that is a demand what is a demand for the IT industry, that is every employee is looking from an employee, essential skills that you need to be equipped with when it comes to the IT sector. So IT sector is not actually about just coding. It's about critical thinking. It's about coding. It's about communication. It's about presentation. So these are some of the things that as an employee, you should have as your package, because the IT sector is booming. It's growing at an exponential rate, and we need to understand that the skills that we have during the 10 years time, it's not adequate. So now we need to reskill or upskill ourselves to ensure that we are par with the industry expectations. So actually, this is what the webinar is actually going to talk about. It's going to give you an in-depth analysis of what you need to do for your IT career. Next, we move on to is the common pitfalls. So common pitfalls are some of the mistakes that many of the individuals take or do, which result in them not able to get that dream job in the tech sector itself. And also, what is the form of action plan that you need to initiate? So all of this will be covered up in today's webinar. Yeah. So let's move on to the next slide. So what we'll discuss in this webinar is first is very important, how to start a career in the IT sector. So like I said previously, if you are a person who's actually a beginner, like after your O levels or O levels, just done schooling, or if you're a person who's actually very curious about the IT industry, or if you're a person who has actually done the research of the IT industry and identified the growths, the booms, and also the lucrative salaries that is provided in the IT sector, then actually this is the webinar that will teach you all about it. So it will teach you how you can start, what are the right qualifications that you need to invest in, and also what type of skill set that you need to develop, and also what type of professional qualifications that you need to undertake in order to land that lucrative job in the IT sector. Next is the IT skills employees actually want. We'll be covering up the skills that many of the employers today want. So today, if you are moving on to this IT sector, many of the employers would require at least some of their employees to understand what AI is. So that has not become an option, but it has become now the core, right? So if you're planning to move in the tech field, you definitely need to have some sort of understanding about AI. Next is the top IT mistakes career switchers make, right? So many of us as individuals, when we are starting at the very first, we tend to make plenty of mistakes, right? But if an experience is shared to individuals who have gone through that and is provided to you, then you will have a very good understanding of not making those same mistakes again. So actually, this webinar will actually be talking about that. Next is demanded tech skills for beginners. So 10 years back, the demanded skill was coding. So any individual, any engineer who actually knew about coding and also who was well versed in certain programming languages was actually hired. But now that landscape is now changing because employers are now moving towards employees who actually can provide critical thinking, who can solve a problem, who can present well, who can communicate well. So it's important also to develop skills based on these core areas. Next is fast growing IT career path. So not all careers in the IT sector are booming that we need to know. Some are going to get extended, some are going to actually boom a lot, right? So you need to understand also when you're investing in the IT sector, you need to invest in qualifications that will provide you the job growth and also a better salary in the tech industry. Next is how to avoid costly mistakes. So there we'll be talking about what type of common mistakes that you need to avoid in order to ensure that you land a proper job. Yes, we can move on to the next slide, please. So basically about me, so my name is actually Mohammed Nawas, and I have been in the academia industry for the past 7 years. I actually also started as a lecturer teaching various type of British qualifications, and also then I moved into management, and also was being a part of having a part, a consultant for the NCC Education UK as well. Furthermore, I had also allocated 2 years of my time helping students, providing them guidance, mentoring them on what type of career advice and qualification selections they need to take based on their requirement. So this is actually a small brief of who basically I am. Yes, we can move on to the next slide. So how IT looks in the UK right now. So UK is basically a tech hub. So UK is one of the best developed countries for tech itself. And many of the top tech firms are also in UK. So the majority of employers, when they look for an employee to be recruited, they look for critical thinking, coding, uh, able to provide proper presentation, communication. So the demand for the tech industry is booming in UK. So one of the major factors that we need to look into is strong digital demand, right? So since the UK is a high demanded market when it comes to the tech industry, you need to then invest on proper qualifications for you to land that proper job. Next is it's has a high competition. Basically, many of the graduates from various universities, various colleges are investing in the tech industry. So you should be able to cultivate a skill, your qualification in order to stand out of the crowd. Next is varied landscape. So some fields, like I said, are oversaturated. So even when you are investing in a field that is saturated, you should be able to develop a skill or develop a basically talent in where you can stand out of the crowd. So, like I was saying earlier, not all fields are booming in the IT sector. You should be, wise enough. You should be also be very careful in what you invest in the tech industry because the tech industry, most of the uh, sectors in the tech industry is going to be taken by AI. So if you can invest in a career of AI, you definitely are able to sustain your career in the tech industry for a very long time. Yes. So let's move on to the next slide. So different IT careers you can target with demands in the UK. So like I was saying, the tech industry is booming a lot, and also there is plenty of job roles that you can select from when it comes to the tech industry. But you need to also be very wise enough to understand that which role, which job growth will provide me what I actually want in the tech field. So one of the first best fields to invest is actually cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is actually a growing field since with the uh, introduction of AI, with the introduction of cloud computing, cybersecurity is required. So as tech industry moves further and further, the demand for cybersecurity engineers is growing. So if you're interested in actually becoming a cybersecurity engineer, then it's actually a viable option, or I would say a very lucrative career if you're planning to invest your skills and invest qualifications in cybersecurity, because this field is actually going to grow further and further. Next is cloud computing. So another field that is growing actually. Many of still individuals still do not know the fundamentals of cloud computing, but once you study what cloud computing is, once you understand what a cloud computing engineer is, then you understand the market. So cloud computing engineering, cloud computing market is actually in the tech industry is booming at a considerable rate. Next is data and analytics. Data analytics means that you require data engineers to study data properly. So when we are actually basically talking of AI, we need to have data engineers also in par with AI. So basically, when you are dealing with AI algorithms, data also has to be provided properly for the algorithms to work, the AI algorithms to work. So that is where you need data engineers. So the demand for data analytics and data engineers is considerably growing. So data engineers is also basically not in the tech industry. You need data engineers or data analytics in other sectors as well. For instance, finance, automobile, anything to do with number crunching, the demand for data analytics and data engineering is going to grow. Next is software developers. So software development is a high market. It's also a saturated market. But anyone who can invest their skills, upscale themselves, and also invest in certain certifications and qualifications that is related to AI along with software development is going to have a good career growth. Next, we have is AI and machine language, which everyone now knows, and it's now the common trend since majority, even every app has an AI feature involved in it. So if you're a person who is willing to invest and take the time and create a future or a career path in AI, that is one of the investments that you need to look into. Next is IT support and infrastructure. Of course, we need the systems to actually be implemented, but also there has to be people to also maintain the systems. So the demand for IT support and infrastructure will considerably be growing as we move forward. So these are some of the actually roles and jobs that are high in demand. If you can actually invest in some of these roles and jobs based on your qualification and your certification, you definitely have a good shot of landing a top career in the tech industry. Yes, we can move on to the next slide. So high regarded qualifications for each field. Now we have talked about the market, and we have also understood what type of roles are actually high in demand. Now you might be saying, okay, basically I understood what you clearly mentioned. How should I start my career in the tech industry, right? So basically, before you can enter into the tech industry and land a lucrative job, you need to have the relevant qualifications and skills. So if you are a person who's actually curious of landing a good job in the tech industry, and if you are a beginner, of course, then you can start with the ATHE Level 3 program. Basically, this is the foundation program. So this is where you build up your foundation before you proceed on to the next level, where the knowledge level is much more technical, right? So if you are a person who is interested in cybersecurity, you can then initiate or invest in the ATHE Level 3 Introduction to Cybersecurity for Beginners. So it's not going to provide you in-depth knowledge, but it's going to actually provide you the foundation to then move on to higher levels where your knowledge level will start growing, right? Next is we have the data analytics. So if you're an individual who is interested in data analytics and who wants to now build your knowledge further, then you can invest in the Level 4 Extended Diploma in Computing in data analytics. So basically what this qualification is, it's equivalent to a first year of a UK degree. You need to note that. And also it will provide you more in-depth knowledge for you to then proceed to the next level itself. So as you can see now, what you have learned in the foundation will now much be better and higher in the Level 4 qualification, right? Next, we then have the artificial intelligence. So if you're an individual who is actually interested in artificial intelligence, then you can again basically invest in the level 3 artificial intelligence certification or diploma program. So again, this will provide you the foundation for you to build the knowledge in artificial intelligence. So yeah, let's move on to the next slide, please. So first, every question that appears is, do you need a computer science degree? So actually, you don't need to have a degree at all when it comes to the tech industry, because it has been validated that many of the employers in today's industry, in all tech industry, is also looking for individuals who can provide critical thinking solutions and who can present and communicate well. So technical knowledge is also now not enough. They are also looking into other aspects of the individual when they recruit. So it's just not only a degree that you can get into a job, but also you can get it through vocational qualifications and also through certifications, right? So if you have passed not only through a degree, but also through certifications and vocational qualifications and show that you're the right person for that specific job, you can easily get hired as well. So there are various actually platforms where you can actually achieve. So if you're a person who feels that you have the relevant experience, but you don't want to invest your time more on a degree, but you like to take a certification side, then you can actually invest. For example, if you're a person who is interested in doing networking, you can take Cisco or you can take Juniper. These are some of the certifications that are related to networking itself. But if you're a person who is actually interested in cybersecurity, then you can invest your qualifications or certification in Computer Security Plus. Again, these type of certifications are targeted for security experts. If you would like to take a vocational qualification, then the education market has the what you call vocational qualifications for computing courses such as ATHE, PSN, NCC Education UK. These all fall under the vocational qualifications. But if you're a person who understands that I would like to have a degree and then enter into a job, then of course you can take a full 3-year UK degree and get into the job. So there are plenty of ways that you can actually invest and get a better paying job. Like I said, getting a qualification is not enough, because now you need to build the skills. That is the most important thing. So building the skills, having the qualification will not enable you to go for that high paying job. Like I was saying earlier, you need to now build the skills. So while you're doing your qualification, you need to also get yourself employed. If you can get yourself employed as a part-time, and then get into some of the smaller companies and develop your skills, then you have a better chance of actually then applying yourself for a bigger company and then getting that lucrative job, right? So it has to be struck with both balance. That is, you have to have the qualification at the same time. You need to also have the relevant skills as well. Yes, let's move on to the next slide, please. So internships in IT, the reality, right? So internships they require high requirements, of course. So not all companies will provide you internships. That we need to know that. Also, the training cost is very high because the company is actually going to bear that cost, and also it's low risk. So in order for you, if most of you all will not have that possibility of getting the internships, that is the most important thing. But you can also develop your skills in other ways. Like I said, you can even you can take projects as a freelancer while you're doing your qualifications, and then you can develop your skills. So the more the projects, the more the portfolio you build up, you're able to convince the companies that you're the right person for the job, because IT is actually carried through projects, right? So if you can develop projects, and then develop systems or what you call various type of solutions for clients through as a freelancer, you're building experience and you're building skills as well, right? So that is one way of actually building a skill. Yes, the other way is through internship. So if you're selected from a company into their internship program, that is another way you can build your skill and then embed that into your CV as a skill sector and then show it to the company that you're applying the job for, right? So these are some of the ways that actually you can get into a well lucrative paid job in the IT sector. Yes, we can move on to the next slide. So beginner entry roles in the UK. So these are some of the salaries that are shown to you depending on the roles, but these salaries can vary, right? So remember, the IT support technician is a person who actually maintains the systems. The salary can range from 22,000 pounds to 28,000 pounds per annum, right? But that also goes even further. So if you're a person who has developed skills and you can even do much more better based more than the job role offered, you can quote a much more higher salary, right? Junior data analyst again is from 26,000 pounds to 35,000 pounds per annum. So it can vary based on your salary, based on your experience, based on your qualification, based on your experience. Like I said, this can grow even further. Next is junior cyber security analyst. That can again range from 28 pounds, 35 pounds. Again, like I said, junior cyber security analyst can again vary and it can go up. Like I was telling, it can be based on your experience, again based on your qualification, and based on how you apply that knowledge into the company and provide a beneficial aspect to the company. So if you are a person who can do much more better or even more than the job role expected by the company, you are able to still land a high paying job. So if you can also even show yourself that you are well equipped for that job by providing additional information, additional critical thinking, and proving it to the employer that you are the person who has more talent than what the job requires, you still then are able to be in a position where you can demand high salary. Next, we move on to is cloud support associate, right? So like I told you, if you are investing in cloud computing, want to become a data engineer, that's a great investment actually, because data engineering positions are growing exponentially, right? Especially with now AI, with many of us are now storing our files, documents all in the cloud. Demand for data engineers is growing at an exponential level, especially in the UK, right? So if you're planning to become like a data engineer, then the salary can range from 28,000 to 38,000 pounds per annum. Again, basically depending on your experience. This can again grow more and more once you get more experience and once you reskill, upskill yourself. Next, we move on to is junior AI ML developer. So this is related to, again, AI. So if you are planning to become an artificial intelligence developer, a person who wants to develop LLM models, solutions, AI solutions for small businesses to large scale businesses. If you are a person who can develop, various type of solutions, even during the entry level and prove it to your employer, then again, your salary will again increase. So the market rate for a junior AI and machine learning developer is actually from 30,000 pounds to 40,000 pounds. Again, this can climb up based on your experience. Yes, we can move on to the next slide, please. Right. So if you're a beginner, if you're actually a fresher, a person who has finished schooling and also done their O levels and A levels, and now are very curious about the tech industry, since most of us around the world are now talking about the hype of AI and how it's going to change the world, how it's going to revolutionize all of the things that we have actually learned. And now we need to, upskill ourselves. And if you want to be the first person in line to benefit from that, on how to use this technology, and you are very curious, here are some of the things that we actually would like to mention to you in order to make sure that you make the correct decision, so that when you enter into the tech industry, it won't be a barrier for you, right? So the first thing that you need to notice, you need to do research. Very important, not only in the tech industry, whatever in the industry you are working, or if you're a beginner, you need to do proper research, right? So you need to first take into account the job growth, right? So if I'm planning to become an AI developer or an AI engineer, what will be the job growth in another 5 to 10 years time? And in that 5 to 10 years time, what is actually going to be the barriers? Is there going to be any external interference? And if that happens, what type of skill set or qualifications I need to take. So important to actually do plenty of research before you choose a career. That's the most important. This is actually for a beginner, right? And a person who is planning to shift into the tech industry, right? Next is you need to then choose your direction. Very important. The IT industry is broad, right? So you cannot do plenty of fields at once. So you had to make a clear decision whether you want to become a artificial intelligence engineer, whether you want to become a data engineer, whether you want to become a cybersecurity engineer. You need to choose one specific path only, right? And from there itself, you can then start building by through experience, through skills, through certifications, and become an expert in that field itself. Next is you need to then build your skills after you have done the research, after you have chosen a path that you want to follow through in the tech industry. Now you need to now start building your skills, right? So how can you build your skills? One is through experience, other one is through qualifications, short courses, okay, and other is also through being like a freelancer. So you might work Monday to Friday through your normal job in a company, and you might then start also being able to do freelancing on Saturdays and Sundays, right? So even taking freelancing jobs is that you're able to build a range of a portfolio because you're actually taking individual projects and developing it by yourself. So that also can be a plus sign for you when you're planning to also apply for bigger, better jobs, or even planning to start your own tech company, right? Next is apply strategically, right? So it's very important that when you have all of these qualifications, all of this experience, you need to ensure that you apply to the correct market, right? So for instance, if you are a cybersecurity expert and now you feel that you're not getting too much of what do you call positions, what do you call in the cybersecurity due to saturation, uh, if you go and apply in the AI field, you're not going to get a much better pay, right? So if you're planning to actually apply for a cybersecurity post, you need to apply in that market itself. That is where then you can actually ask from the employer a good amount of salary, right? Because you are an expert in that field. So it's very important to first do your research, then choose the direction that you want to go to. Then beyond that, build the skills, qualifications, experience, skills, upskilling, and then choose your market wisely, right? So there is a lot of the in the tech industry. There is a huge, vast, market in the tech industry itself. You need to choose it wisely and correctly so that you are able to obtain that required salary you expect from. Yes. So we can move on to the next slide. So step one, like I said, research, very important. So very important, you need to understand that is what type of job is in high in demand in the UK industry, the UK tech industry itself. What are the required qualifications that you need to enter into that, what do you call industry itself? So for instance, we can take an example, cybersecurity. So if you are a person who is into cybersecurity, then you need to do a research on the UK job demand for cybersecurity. After you have already obtained that, next is you need to then research on what are the qualifications that you need to obtain in order to get into the cybersecurity field. That's the other thing. The other part also is you need to then understand what is the paying scale for a junior or an entry level cybersecurity. If you have an experience of 0 to 1, what is the paying scale? Experience of 1 to 5 or 1 to 3, what is the paying scale? Now, if you have an experience of 5 years, what is the paying scale? So that gives you a broader picture when you go into the interview, what you're going to expect, right? So that is the most important thing that you need to understand. Next is the global value of the skill, right? Is a skill only valid in my country, in the UK, or is it valid worldwide, right? So some of us at times we would like to migrate into various countries, right? So if I am doing following a specific path and obtaining a skill for that qualification, if I do not feel comfortable in my country, can I migrate and obtain a much more better salary in my field itself? So that is also you need to take into account whether the path or the market that you have chosen, for instance, cybersecurity is also globally recognized, right? So next is you need to ask yourself as well, is this growing? Like I told you, in the previous slide, is the field growing, right? In another 5 years' time, where will cybersecurity engineers be? In another 10 years' time, where the cybersecurity engineers will be? What will be the pay growth, right? Is the market saturated, right? Of course, every market is saturated, but it's very important for you to understand that you need to make yourself unique. If you're able to make yourself unique, you can, once you go into the interview, you can show the unique points that you can offer to the employer. If you're able to provide that, you definitely can negotiate for a higher salary. That is the most important thing, because every market is not going to be in a monopoly form. There is actually going to be saturation and competition coming into play, right? So does it require continuous learning? Of course, if you take a field of AI, if you take the field of cybersecurity, if you take a field of data engineering, anything related to tech, anything related to any other industries, you definitely are going to require continuous learning, right? The purpose of continuous learning is to make sure that you are well ahead than the competition or well ahead than your colleagues, right? And do I enjoy this? Very important. Also to note that just by getting a job and getting the salary is not enough. You need to have the passion to do it as well. So if you have the passion, the goal, and if you would like to see yourself in a uh, better career in another 5 to 10 years time, of course, then you would have selected a great career itself, right? So we can move on to the next slide, please. So choose the direction, very important. Interest, right? So what genuinely engages you, right? So if you're a person who would like to develop softwares, develop systems, break into systems and provide solutions for that, then I would say you can choose cybersecurity software development. Or if you're a person who is into networking, then you need to actually pick your interest, right? From the very beginning, and on that build it. Next is long-term commitment. Can you see yourself doing this for years, right? So it's very important to note that, are you willing to put the effort, the time, right, in order to do this for a very long time, right? The strengths, what are you naturally good at, right? So if you're a person who is good in coding but not good in actually networking or software development, finding it very difficult to actually communicate your ideas to the non-tech people, you need to identify that as well. So you need to identify your strengths and you need to identify your weaknesses. And based on that, you need to also make your weakness your strength. That is the most important thing. Because if you are a person who is only good at coding, you're not going to go further in the tech industry, right? Even in any industry, you need to see your weaknesses as well and then build it with qualification and with experience. So then you're able to be a top player in your uh, market, right? So these are some of the things that you need to take into account. Yes, we can move on to the next slide. So step 3, build skills plus smart qualifications, right? So if you can invest, choose industry recognized certification. So like I said, if you are planning to do cybersecurity, in the market, there is Computer Security Plus. That is one of the top qualifications for cybersecurity expert. Or if you're a network engineer, you can do Computer Network Plus, and then obtain a certification as a specialized network engineer. Certifications also is also not enough. I said you need to also build the skill set as well, right? So part-time, you can then take projects based on networking. Part-time, you can take projects based on cybersecurity and build your skill level as well. That is how you actually grow in the tech industry. So next is align qualification with your chosen field. Very important. So if you are planning to pursue a career in cybersecurity, you have to take the qualifications, certifications, and skill that align according to cybersecurity. So same thing goes for other roles as well. So other one is avoid high-based courses. So courses that are not relevant to your uh, career, or that do not align to your career, do not invest, because it will be at the end a waste of time and also at the waste of your money as well. Very important to know. So if you cannot invest, free YouTube learning is there. Of course, YouTube is there. We have plenty of social platforms, plenty of video-based platforms that can enable us to download the content for free, watch it, and then reskill ourselves, right? There is also affordable online platforms as well. Next is build real practical skills. Like I said, you can go as like a freelancer, take even short projects, small projects, medium projects, and then from there you can start building your skills, right? So these are some of the ways you can actually build your skill set. Along with that, obtain the certification in order to land a high paying job, right? Yes, we can move on to the next slide. Highly recognized qualification in the IT industry, right? So if you're a person who would like to also obtain academic qualifications and also go for better jobs, because most of the companies would require also what you call degree qualifications as well, academic qualifications as well. But if you are not in a position to invest heavily on universities, there is another pathway that you can actually enter, right? So if you feel that you would like to be a cybersecurity engineer or a network engineer or a data engineer, but you don't have the capital to invest in degrees, because yes, UK degrees are very expensive. It goes for 46 or 55, depending on the major that you're going to enroll in. There is a qualification where you can undertake. It's called the vocational qualifications, like ATHM as well, right? So these actually allow you to obtain the similar knowledge, but at a very low cost, and also enable you to get into a university for the final year. That's we call up the top-up degree, right? So I'll just explain what this means. So you have the diplomas. So diploma in computing is actually the level 3, that is the foundation level. So this is actually going to teach you the basics in either cybersecurity, either in AI, or whatever role that you are going to apply and obtain this qualification for. So this is actually for beginners, right? Diplomas are for the beginners who are planning to start a career in IT itself. Next is you have the extended diploma. So the extended diplomas are specialized, specialized qualifications. They are starting from level 4 to level 5. So the level 4 is actually a first year of a UK degree. Level 5 is a second year of a UK degree. And then the level 6 is where you can then apply for any university in the UK and finish up your qualification and obtain the degree, right? Whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's data engineer, whether it's software developing. But the benefit of this path, if you take more than your university, is that you can obtain a degree at a very low cost, right? And all the way you can go and do the level 7, which is actually the pre-master, pre-postgraduate program as well, right? So there are plenty of actually pathways for you to actually obtain the qualification and land a good job. It's up to you to understand which actually pathway is good for you and which is actually much more cost effective for you to obtain that qualification, right? So we can move to the next slide, please. So step 4, apply strategically, right? So build LinkedIn properly. So once you have completed your qualification, always build a LinkedIn profile, very important. The LinkedIn platform is all based on professionals. So if you update your LinkedIn profile, update your qualifications, what type of certifications you have undertaken, what type of skills you have undertaken, what type of projects you have undertaken, always upload that in your LinkedIn. This will then actually provide you a platform where you can then attract better companies or employers who are finding for that specific person, whether it's cybersecurity, data engineering, software developing, or an AI developer that they are looking for in order to recruit into their company, right? Next is create your CV for each role. Very important. Always ensure that your CV is based on the industry expectation, right? You cannot design CVs based on how you would like. You need to create the CVs based on industry standards, right? And it has to be updated. Next is create portfolio projects. That means you need to take as much as projects as possible. Like I said, if you're a cybersecurity person and you're a person who is now interested in cybersecurity, now you have just applied for a qualification, it's okay. Go as a freelancer and at least take small cybersecurity projects, because this is building a portfolio for you. And also it's building your skill. So the moment you have completed your qualification, the moment you have completed degree, now you actually have built a portfolio where you can actually go and show it to the employer, and the employer will actually be convinced, because in the tech industry, when they interview, Majority of the companies look at your portfolio, look at the skills that you have actually undertaken, right? Some companies, yes, would look at the qualification, but many of the companies will actually look at your portfolio. If you're a person who has built a good amount of portfolio, a good amount of experience, a good amount of skill, you can definitely land a lucrative job, right? Next is apply beyond just LinkedIn, right? So rather than just applying in LinkedIn, use other professional platforms as well, because the more you can spread, the better the chances you can get a high paying job. Applying just in one platform will limit your scope of getting a good job. But applying in other platforms as well is also important as well. So you need to do a research on what are the platforms that are high in demand. So of course, LinkedIn is in high in demand. Then what is second? What is third? What are the other remaining platforms that employers look into? So based on that, you can then actually spread your chance of getting a good job. Yes, we can move on to the next slide. So skills employers look into in the year of 2026, right? So there are various skills that employers look into, and since employers are always expecting more things from their employees with the technology changing, here are some of the top skills that in the year of 2026 that employers look into. Yes, we can move on to the next slide. So first is cybersecurity, right? So cybersecurity is employers would like, if you are moving to the cybersecurity market, employees will actually would like to see you have that critical mindset, be able to communicate things in a much more simplified manner. Also be able to provide solutions, right? So in the cybersecurity scope, that is what many of the cyber employees would be looking for, or the cybersecurity companies. Next is cloud computing, right? Cloud computing here is also the same thing. They would like to see employees who can actually also provide solutions, critical thinking, for instance, new methods of doing data backup, right? And also what type of solutions that you can bring into the company. These are some of the major skill sets that employers in a cloud computing company would be looking for from an individual. Also, if they're selling a new product, how can you communicate that to their clients? Communication skills are also very important, right? Next is data analytics, right? Strong demand across many industries, not only tech, banking, finance, right? Automobile, hospitality, all require proper data analytics. So if you're a person who's good in number crunching, good in identifying patterns in data, then of course you are able to find jobs in not only the tech, but other sectors as well. AI and machine learning. So it's a rapid expanding field, still not touched, but it's now going to grow in a vast manner and also at an exponential growth, right? So AI is also not only about building solutions or building apps, it's also providing tools for businesses that can increase their productivity and efficiency. So if you're an AI engineer, if you're able to build simple tools also and provide a great product which can benefit the business in terms of productivity and efficiency, you definitely can land a very good job in the AI market as well. Next is automation and DevOps. So growing need for efficiency and scaling. Since systems are growing bigger and bigger and powerful and much more, able to do a lot of processing as well in milliseconds, you require automation and DevOps as well, right? So these are engineers which target that sector itself. So if you are into automation and DevOps, and if you are planning to invest a career in that, then again, it's a plus point for you as well. So these are some of the skill sets and also some of the job role demands that employers are looking from 2026 onwards, right? Yes, we can move on to the next slide, please. So again, cloud platforms. So the very high-end competitors when it comes to cloud computing or cloud platforms is AWS and Azure, that is Amazon and Microsoft, right? So basically, everyone knows cloud computing is where the resources are provided by the data infrastructure such as Amazon and Microsoft, and they provide their services to clients where they can use their infrastructure like CPU, RAMs, and everything virtually, right? So actually, then who will be looking after those infrastructure is called data engineers, right? So for the demand for data engineers is actually very high in this market scope itself. So here, companies do not store data on office computers anymore. They use online servers called the cloud. So for them to actually use the services, you need to have someone who maintains this as well. So that is where you require data engineers for this, right? So what beginners can learn is what cloud computing is, how virtual machines work, basic cloud storage, simple networking concepts, AWS or Azure fundamentals. So if you are a person who is interested in this scope, again, you can take Amazon exams as well, or you can even do a degree in cloud computing, or you can also collaborate with both. That means do a degree along with that, have a certification in cloud computing as well, either offered by Microsoft or Amazon, right? So this is one of the strongest fields, not only in the UK, but other well-developed companies as countries as well. Yes, we can move on to the next slide. So cybersecurity fundamentals. So what is cybersecurity? So it's actually protecting systems, testing systems, protecting systems, and actually providing solutions to companies so that their systems are well protected from unauthorized access, right? Or even hackers, right? So here they had to understand the basic of networking, the softwares, the databases, password security and encryption, risk awareness. All of this will be actually taught in cybersecurity, right? Some of the best roles are like a pen tester, penetration tester, who actually brute forces the system and then actually provides the solutions on how companies and banks should protect their system. So if you're a person who would actually like to see a role in cybersecurity, then investing in a cybersecurity degree or a certification is a great start, right? So we can move on to the next slide. So next is SQL and data tools. So this is targeting towards the backend of the what do you call application. So that is databases, right? So every application that we interact requires a database for data to be stored. So you will be learning about various type of what do you call tools of databases, and also what the beginner will learn is they will be learning these basic SQL queries, databases, Excel, BI, data visualization, right? So if you are a person who actually would like to see uh, a career in database development, then of course you can take certifications or a degree also in uh, database as well, right? So it can be a general computing degree that has most of the database modules as well, where you can do it, and then you can even create applications and databases for the clients itself, right? So we can move on to the next slide as well. So again, Python and automation, right? Python has been there for a very long time, but now Python is also heading towards where AI engineers can use Python to develop automation tools as well. So Python is actually a programming language. Every one of us knows that. So automation means making the computer handle repetitive tasks, right? So the normal task that we used to do is now being handled by what do you call Python as well. So if you're a person who has a very good understanding of Python and would like to develop automation tools, then of course, going in the side of an AI engineer is a great investment, right? Again, you can choose whatever methods you would like, because of course the market has three ways of you achieving that goal of becoming a AI engineer. One is through a conventional degree. The other one is through a vocational qualification such as ATHM, NCC Education UK, or PSN. The other one is through certifications, right? So we can move on to the next slide. AI integration knowledge. Okay, so what beginners need to know, right? So when you're heading onto interview, you should also have AI knowledge integrated into you as well, because almost every tech company is going to ask that, right? Are you an employer? Are you an employee or an individual who have undertaken some sort of AI course, right? So if you are even applying for a cybersecurity job, even if you're applying for a programming, or even if you're applying for a database job, it can be anything in the tech industry. You need to understand that you need to learn AI, because the tech industry is now in the existence of AI itself, right? So basically, AI integration knowledge is where what machine learning is. So you need to actually understand all of this, because these are some of the questions that the employer could ask, or the HR of that company could ask, right? So then they might ask basic Python for AI, using AI APIs, prompt engineering basics, how AI tools connect to application. So you should at least have some sort of knowledge about AI in order to convince your employer that you're the right person for these jobs. Yes. So we could move to the next slide, please. Next is important is soft skills, right? So that is communication. Communication is very important. If you're a person who is actually well good in technical, but your communication is not up to par, that is where you need to then start at what do you call rectifying that issue. So you need to be a well-versed individual who is very good in technical and also soft skills as well, right? You need to, like for instance, if your company has asked you to sell a product, even though you're an engineer, because an engineer is a person who knows the product in and out very well. So you should be able to then explain how the product functions or how the service functions to non-tech developers in order for them to be convinced in order to purchase that service or product, right? So communication is very important. I won't go through it, but it's a soft skill that not only tech people also have to work. Everyone in industry, whatever industry they are in, they need to develop their communication skills, right? Yes, we can move on to the next slide. So problem solving, very important when it comes to the tech industry. Problem solving, critical thinking are the main core pillars, right? In order for you to get into that specific role, right? So when it comes to problem solving, you need to stay calm, right? You need to control your emotions. You need to think in a practical manner, practical and logical manner. Then you have to break down the problems step by step. You cannot take all of the problem and then try and figure it out. It's not going to work. You need to break the problem into step by step in order to make it much more clear. Next is you need to then check logs, right? So if you have come across where the systems are creating major issues, you need to first check the systems logs in order to see what is causing the problem. So we call this a diagnose, right? And then you need to test it systematically. So if you are developing an app and planning to what do you call apply it in the production level, before you apply it into the market, you need to test it, right? To see whether this software is performing well under stress, and when it's performing also off stress, how it's performing well. And then if you are convinced that it's performing well, then only you can apply it to the market itself, right? So these are some of the core components that you need to consider. Next is you need to think logically. Simple as that. You need to be very practical and think logically in order to provide the solutions. So these are some of the core principles that tech employers or tech companies are looking for an individual or employee, right? Yes, we can move on to the next. So next is documentation, very important. When it comes to the tech industry, you need to document, right? So you need to understand how to create the document properly, how to create the documentation according to the industry standard, right? So what were the issues that you came across? What caused the issue? How did you fix it? Everything should be actually documented, right? So there is actually a proper procedure, proper template that you need to apply all of this into the documentation that you need to learn it. So this again will be learned through soft skills or taking short courses, right? So this is how you actually have to build up your qualification and your skills in order to land that job. Yes. So we can move on to the next slide. So next is adaptability, very important. In the tech industry, you need to be very adaptable. You cannot survive with 10 years skills, right? You need to also be able to adapt to new changes so that you are able to secure your job, right? So next is you need to learn new tools when required. You need to update your skills regularly. You need to accept feedback, constructive feedback, need to adjust new systems or processes, right? So for instance, employers who have not come across AI now they have to actually learn AI because it's now not an option, it's compulsory, right? So now they have to attend what you call workshops, seminars, or webinars that are related to AI tools and develop. So adaptability is very important in the tech industry. We can move on to the next slide. So fast growing IT paths, right? So this slide will actually be talking about the fast growing IT paths. So what is the best path for you to select? So we can move on to the next, please. So we can start off with cybersecurity. That's a very, a path or a career that actually will not expire because with technology, it'll keep on moving forward. Next is cloud engineer. Also, since it's the latest technology, cloud engineers are required the most. Next we have is data analyst. Like I said, data analysis is now required because of AI, right? Because you require accurate data for the AI to provide essential output, right? So not only that, you need to have also data analysts for financial and other financial sectors as well. So data analysis is high in demand. Next we have is AI and machine learning engineers for developing automation tools. And the last is we have DevOps engineer, right? So these are some of the highly important roles for you to invest in. If you can invest your career on these roles, definitely you have a secure future when it comes to the tech industry. Yes, we can move on to the next slide. So is software engineering still worth it, right? Of course, it's worth it. Of course, software engineering is important, even though the market is saturated. It's how you are going to position yourself in the software market, right? So, of course, junior level is saturated, high graduate volume, strong competition. You can overcome this by enhancing your skills and undertaking projects as well and developing a portfolio. So if course software engineering is not dying, many go by saying that software engineering is dying, but it's actually not dying because you can actually, it's how you actually position yourself in the market that enables you to get that relevant job in the software industry market itself. Yes, we can move on to the next slide. So mistakes career switchers and beginners make and how to avoid them, right? So we'll be talking about this. What are the mistakes you need to avoid in order to ensure that your path is, you do not waste the time and achieve that goal within the given time, right? So we can move on to the next. So top IT mistake careers switchers make. One is choosing a field without research. So if you don't do your research properly, what happens is you land yourself in a wrong career, right? So applying for big companies at the beginning, always very important. Apply for a small company, build a skill, and then go to a bigger company. That is how you have to structure your career. Next is ignoring portfolio building, right? Many of us, what we do here is we focus on getting the qualifications, certification, and then applying for a job, disregarding skills as well. So it's important that while you're undertaking your qualification, it's always as a part-time, build your skills and portfolio as well. Very important. Next is mass applying without targeting, right? So what we do is without specifically targeting the market that we want, we just market to every field. This, what happens is it results in us not getting the proper job that we require. So these are some of the mistakes that you need to avoid. You first have to do a proper research. Then you need to start from a small company and then from there build your skills and your qualifications in order to have a better chance to apply for a bigger company that will provide you a better salary. Next is you need to build your portfolio and your skill set. And also you need to target for the right market that you are aiming for, right? Yes, we can move on to the next. How to avoid these mistakes, right? So how can we avoid these mistakes is by doing a deep research, build practical projects, even if it's small projects to medium, that's not okay because you're building a skill and your portfolio. Then you combine complementary skills, right? Taking certifications, taking CPD courses to develop that skill set itself. Then you start small, support startup internships, right? And you focus on the long-term growth, right? So these are some of the key components that you need to take into account in order to avoid these costly mistakes that could actually cost a lot of time and money as well for you. So very important to consider these core components itself. Yeah, we can move on to the next slide. So what you gain, I hope every one of you all have got at least a good value-based webinar. So attendees and our audience who actually have participate in this webinar, one thing is you will get a £50 off discount for all ATHG computing courses itself that we have, from diploma to higher national diplomas all the way to the level 7. That is pre-postgraduate programs offered. We all offer computing programs itself. Also, attendees and audience will be obtaining a free certificate. Also, we have a special offer, which is buy one, get one free. And the moment you purchase from our South London College, one of the computing qualifications, the moment you enter into the checkout phase, you can type this code called webinar, again, WEBINAR. You type that, then you will obtain that £50 discount itself, right? So in order to also obtain more information about this qualification, you can visit our website, which is southlondoncollege.org, or you can inquire to one of our student counselors who will actually guide you in order to choose the proper computing qualification based on your requirement. That is inquiry@southlondoncollege.org, right? So basically, I hope every one of you all had a very good time based on this webinar, and I hope it provided you good insight of what you have to do as a beginner or a career change if you're planning to move into the tech industry. So we have the Q&A session. I would like to request if someone has a Q&A, a question to be asked. So if any of you all are interested and are very curious about the courses, the qualifications related, you can drop down a question and we'll be ready to answer that. So yes, I want to do IT courses, but I need to face-to-face tutoring. Kindly repeat the code. Yes, the code is webinar. So it's WEBINAR, webinar. Yes, for the first question, yes, of course, we provide that. So the tutoring, face-to-face tutoring we provide. So for instance, yes, for instance, if you like the face-to-face tutoring, we can keep online sessions, and any form of doubts that you actually have, you'd like to clear it out. So most of these, qualification has assignments. You need to do your research, and if there are any issues that you are finding it difficult, you can then actually contact us, and then we will actually help you out. So of course, we assist in tutoring as well for the relevant qualifications. So is there any more questions that you would like to ask before we wind up the session? Any more questions? Okay. So thank you to everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar, even especially from your busy schedule, taking the time to attend this webinar. And thank you all, and of course, have a great day. Thank you.